Now we're in good shape and we're almost done, but there are two gotchas in our current application. So everything works fine. We check for the query. We know that if we're getting back the query, then of course we have the object, and then the array is in the data object and the name is results. However, if we're just getting default photos, then of course we spread out the old photos and then we add that data. So I think I can remove the console log and I'll show you both of the gotchas. So the first gotcha is if we type here cat and if we search for it, technically our functionality works. But notice how we're not changing those default ones. So if we do it over here, yeah, I'm getting this array and I can clearly notice that I'm getting more items right now, but I'm not wiping out the old ones. And what I would want instead is that when we type something, instead of just appending them to our current array, because notice now, of course, we have 19. I would want instead wipe out the old ones. So yes, we'll still use this functionality when it comes to query, but then if the page is number one, so if I know that I'm typing a brand new query, then I also would want to wipe out the old values. So we'll scroll down here and we'll add one more if. So we'll say if, and then query and the page is equal to 1, then we'll wipe out the old values. So if page is equal to 1, then instead of appending to our current array, the way we're going to do that, we'll say return, and then remember whatever we're returning, and we'll just say data results. Now, of course, in this case, this is going to become else if, of course. So that's why we'll say here else if. So if the query, then of course everything is going to be exactly the same. Now, one thing over here is going to be the simple fact that it's going to work over here with the dog, and yeah, we get the results. But what do you think happens when we start scrolling? And again, I'm going to do that on a bigger screen because I would want you to see how the values change. So again, we go dog, we're getting dog photos, and then let me refresh. For some reason, I don't see the components. Now I do. And notice how the value is changing for the pages. So now we have, of course, page value 3, and then we keep on scrolling, and we keep on changing this value. So now, of course, when we type, well, it's not going to be equal to 1, correct? So when I have a new query of quat, then again, I'm appending to my current one, and that's not what I would want. So in here, if I scroll down and notice where we're fetching images, instead, I would want to set page to 1. Correct? So we're going to go to set page and we'll set it equal to 1. And two things are happening. First of all, we are resetting the page value. And the second thing is we technically even don't need to call fetch images because we already have a use effect that is listening for the page. So that should work. But then there's one last gotcha. So let me save this one and let's just type over here dog. And then we're going to keep on scrolling and technically we'll get dog photos. But notice how normally we didn't wipe out the old values. So that was the issue. So why do you think that is happening? Well, because if I refresh and if I start typing from the scratch and dog, check it out. Once I submit the form, the value is already 1. So I'm getting already page number 1. So that's why nothing is happening. And we simply need to fix it. If we scroll up and check out the page, I'll get the default one to be 0. So now my functionality will still work. Where once I submit my query, I'll always set my page to be equal to 1. Correct? But my default one is 0, meaning there's going to be a re-render. So now let's test it out. By default, I'm getting these images with page 0, like so. But then if I type the dog, now I'll set my page equal to 1. So I'll wipe out the old values and then everything works. As I keep on scrolling, I'm going to be getting my dog images. So of course my pages will be changing and so will be the new fetch request. That was the project. I understand that this was somewhat big, but like I warned you in the beginning of the section, these are advanced projects. So of course, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the project. And I hope to see you in the next one.